Live from Waterford and the Virgin Media Broadband Studio in Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. The Health Minister says he'll meet with the Oireachtas members from Waterford to discuss when the new palliative care centre can be opened. An investigation's been launched after a man was shot dead in Mayo. Dawn Meats in Waterford says it's contacted Gardaí about protesters wearing balaclavas. And in sport, Waterford have picked up 4 Camogie All-Star nominations. A Waterford TD says dying people don't have time to wait for the new South East Palliative Care Centre to open. The long-awaited 20-bed facility on the grounds of University Hospital Waterford was handed over to the HSE in April. However, recruitment has not begun as the HSE is yet to allocate a budget to hire staff. Fianna Fáil's Mary Butler and Sinn Féin's David Cullinane raised the matter on the opening day of the new Dáil term.
Minister, once again the people are waiting, and unfortunately when you are dying, you don't have time to wait.
My man passed away this year in a palliative care unit in Dublin, in Harold's Cross. There are many people in the South East who would want to be able to have their loved ones as close as possible when they suffer something like that. It's massively important to the people of Waterford.
Minister for Health Simon Harris says he wants to get the hospice up and running.
I take the points that the deputies make. The facility is there. We need to get it open as quickly as possible. I would be hopeful that we could progress it this year. But what I would suggest we do, in the spirit in which we've worked on other issues, is I'd meet the Oireachtas members from Waterford early next week and with the HSE officials, and we'll see if we can move forward on it.
Gardaí are continuing to question a man in his 80s following a shooting in County Mayo last night. A man in his 60s was shot dead at Aherne near Ballyhonus shortly before midnight, as Casey O'Riordan reports.
Late last night, a man in his 80s was at his home in Aherne when he heard a noise outside. He went to investigate, and it's understood he fired a gun to try and scare off any potential intruder. However, a man in his 60s from the neighbouring parish of Knock was in the area and was shot and killed. These locals gathered outside the local post office this morning in shock.
I know both men, and I'm very sorry for both of them. It's an awful tragedy in the area, in a small community area that everybody knows everybody else, desperate to the world.
It is great tragedy, and I feel sorry for both families.
The country lane where the house is located has been closed off and the scene has been preserved. A vehicle believed to belong to the victim has been covered by a tarp and remains at the scene. The man in his 80s was arrested and is being held at Castlebar Garda Station, where he can be held for up to 24 hours. An incident room has been set up at Claremorris Garda Station, and Gardaí are appealing to anyone with information to contact them. Casey O'Riordan, Aherne, Ballyhonus.
Dawn Meats in County Waterford has contacted Gardaí about masked individuals manning the illegal blockade outside its plant in Granny. A spokesperson for the company described it as a sinister and unsettling development, saying it demonstrated that these people are well aware of the illegality of their actions. Protesters wearing balaclavas, sunglasses and scarves appeared on the gates on Monday, just hours after a potential deal was agreed. This farmer says masks weren't being worn yesterday.
They're starting to back down the factory. That's why they're not being worn. They're not going to give out any more injunctions. They're getting afraid. The people here are getting braver. I think they made a big mistake by giving them out.
The protests over the past 3 weeks forced Dawn to temporarily lay off over 300 workers at the plant. Meanwhile, it's estimated that the Carroll's Cross facility has suffered losses of around €1.5 million due to product being prevented from leaving the plant. A report by the Mental Health Commission has highlighted a breach of human rights and a shortage of staff at facilities in Waterford. The MHC visited St Aidan's and Grangemore residential facilities at St Otteran's in March of this year. WLR's Liz Reddy reports.
The Mental Health Commission found that patients were mechanically restrained by lap belts. Its use must be properly assessed, ordered and reviewed, and used only when less restrictive alternatives are not suitable. In St Aidan's ward, the residents' privacy and dignity was not appropriately respected, with the beds too close together and an insufficient number of toilets. The unit was not clean, hygienic and free from offensive odours. However, the new state-of-the-art 100-bed Waterford Residential Centre, which is nearing completion on the site at St Patrick's Hospital, will include a 20-bed psychiatric unit, which will replace St Aidan's ward. The report also found the number of staff wasn't sufficient to address the assessed needs of the residents. At the time of the inspection, there were 42 nursing posts vacant in County Waterford. The HSE South East Community Healthcare says a corrective action plan is in place and that a number of observations made in the reports have already been addressed.
Minister of State John Halligan says it's unacceptable that students in Waterford have had to resort to living in a travel lodge because they can't find accommodation. Waterford Institute of Technology's student union has teamed up with the hotel on the Cork Road to put up students who can't find anywhere to live. WITSU is also urging homeowners to provide digs to students. Waterford TD John Halligan says it's vital students live in suitable dwellings.
Decent and quality accommodation has to be found for our students, and I know that is difficult at present. I'll be meeting the Minister for Education, Joe McHugh, next week to talk about some of the problems we have here in Waterford with accommodation, particularly for students, first-time students starting off, many of them coming into Waterford. And it's important that we have adequate accommodation for our students who will be coming to the Institute of Technology, which is the #1 institute of technology in Ireland.
The director of Quinn Industrial Holdings is recovering in hospital after being abducted from his home in Fermanagh last night. Kevin Lunny was found on the side of the road in Cavan with serious injuries. Sean O'Regan has more.
A cross-border investigation has been launched following the abduction of Mr Lunny last night. The 50-year-old was taken from his home in Derrylin in Fermanagh at around 20 to 7. He was seriously assaulted before being left at the side of the road at Cornafane in Cavan. He was discovered by locals just before 9 o'clock and was brought to hospital with serious injuries to his face and a broken leg. TD for Cavan Monaghan, Brendan Smith, says those responsible are nothing more than thugs.
I appeal to An Garda Síochána and the PSNI to ensure that the maximum resources are put in place to ensure that the thugs and the criminals who carried out this despicable behaviour, that they are caught and brought to justice quickly.
MP for Fermanagh and South Tyrone, Michelle Gildernew, has described the attack as horrendous.
I send my deepest condolences to his family and to the people who love him, and I want to ask the people who have been responsible for this attack to desist in their actions.
Mr Lunny is the Director and Chief Operating Officer of Quinn Industrial Holdings. In a statement, QIH said he will require some considerable time to recover from the very severe injuries he sustained in this brutal attack. It continued that QIH staff have previously been assaulted and that loss of life is inevitable unless authorities take action.
Waterford councillors have appealed for the local authority to fund an extension of the Shore Valley Railway into the city. The Heritage Line travels along 17 kilometres of the former Waterford to Dungarvan line from Kilmeaden towards the city. Green Party councillor Jody Power says the operators have big plans for the railway.
30,000 visitors last year, more again this year. Next year they have significant costs that are going to self-fund to acquire a steam engine from the UK. That's going to add to the attraction. And they believe if they can bring this into Bilberry, into the city, the amount of visitors there would be double again. If you could have a look at it again and see if we can actually progress that and rather not dismiss it, OK?
Waterford Council CEO Michael Walsh says works will take place to complete the Greenway from Bilberry to the Viking Triangle, but these won't include the Shore Valley Railway.
Let's be clear and explicit in terms of the Shore Valley. It will cost millions of euro to create the additional width because of the constraints you're caught between a rock and the river is the reality in terms of the Bilberry Road. What we are doing is we are creating a corridor there that has a sufficiency for 2 lanes and for a full 3-metre segregated cycle and walking route, which is part of the Greenway. And we have no source of funding that I'm aware of that would give the additional width that would allow a rail line to be constructed in there either.
Organisers say over 100,000 people could attend the second day of the Ploughing Championships, which is underway in County Carlow. Several ministers have begun arriving at the 1,000-acre site where beef and Brexit dominate the agenda. Taoiseach Simon Coveney will visit a special Brexit hub to outline the government's planned response to rural Ireland in the event of a no deal next month. The 3-day event is Europe's largest outdoor agricultural event. Organiser Anna Marie McHugh outlines what's in store this afternoon.
You have the brown bread baking on, and that's the second day of qualifiers, and the finals are going to be tomorrow. Worth seeing that. Then you have the junior baker where the Froiga kids are there making their cakes as well, so that's competition, and that's nice to see. You also have this afternoon the hunt chase, the junior hunt chase, where the young people are out doing the speed chase and trials, and that's really exciting. Ploughing, of course, today, horse ploughing in the trade arena, and then out in the ploughing area we have about 8 or 10 ploughing competitions as well.
WLR Sport.
Starting with Camogie, where Waterford have picked up 4 All-Star nominations. Beth Carton, who won Waterford's first All-Star last year, has been nominated at full forward. She was the July winner of the WLR Granville Hotel GA Award. Half-forward Niamh Rockett, who was the June winner, picks up her second nomination. Midfielder Anya Ling and half-back Lorraine Bray, who previously won Soaring Stars Awards, are also nominated. Waterford Camogie County Board Chairperson Ita Murphy says all 4 really deserve the nominations.
Beth is the highest scorer of the championship, scoring 5:37, so up to the quarter final. So when you think of the leaderboard, when you have no one from Galway or Kilkenny, and with 2 additional games, like, it's remarkable really that Beth is the top scorer. You have Lorraine Bray as well. Lorraine Bray, if you think of Niamh Kilkenny, who was player of the match in the All Ireland final, I don't think Niamh Kilkenny saw much of the ball in the quarter final. It was probably one of her least effective games, and that's all down to the work rate of Lorraine Bray. Niamh Rockett, she was the Granville WLR player of the month in the month of June, had a phenomenal game in the Dublin game, and Anya Ling won probably the most consistent player on the team, who consistently delivers game in, game out.
The final team will be announced in Dublin on Saturday, October 19th. In rugby, Rob Carney and Keith Earls are winning the races to be fit for Ireland's Rugby World Cup opener against Scotland. Carney's been nursing a tightness in his calf, while Earls is recovering from a thigh niggle picked up in the recent win over Wales. Assistant coach Andy Farrell's confirmed that both were able to take part in training today, and he's confident they'll be available on Sunday.
There's a few protocols that they need to go to, so that's what we need to make sure that we adhere to as far as the protocols with the medical staff, but they are very happy with the progress. They're available, so we've obviously another session to go on Friday, and it's Wednesday, the game's on Sunday, so we're building nicely.
Centre Robbie Henshaw is the only Irish player ruled out of the Pool A clash. Joey Carberry's expected to be on the bench. In soccer, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has stressed the importance of winning their opening game in the Champions League. They begin their group stage campaign in Ukraine this evening against Shakhtar Donetsk. Last season's runners-up Tottenham are in Greece to take on Olympiacos. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at 2.